This week on episode 362, Joe and I are going to be talking about sticks. We're going to be doing reviews, commentary, many things about the cigar industry news, maybe a little bit about conferences. Episode 362 starts right now.
This is a Security Weekly production. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where cigars burn slow, ashes fall fast, and cocktails flow steady. It's the Stogie Geeks Show. Welcome, everyone, to the Stogie Geeks Show. Joe and I are already silly.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Josepa, a.k.a. Joe Hollywood, is here with me in studio.
I'm fired up. So we also have Remote Drew, who is remote over in Texas. Look at you. You got some Stogie Geek swag going on in the background.
Got my banner.
Where are you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm all set up for the Stogie Geek mobile lounge.
Confidence. Confidence isn't walking into a room with your nose in the air, thinking you're better than anyone else. It's walking into a room and not having to compare yourself to anyone in the first place.
Plasencia Cigars, perfected for more than 150 years. Yours to enjoy now.
Havana Cigar Club, located in Warwick, Rhode Island, is a great place to enjoy a drink and a cigar. Stogie Geeks listeners can find a $5 off coupon on our website by clicking the HCC logo.
Welcome to episode 362 of Stogie Geeks. I am your host, Joe Josepa. This episode is recorded in G-Unit Studios on May 14th. It's been a while since I've been back. Had a little kid. I'm excited.
Welcome back. Congratulations.
Kids and cigars. That's been on my mind for the past 2 weeks. So lucky we can talk about both.
It's nice to have you back, Joe. And seriously, congratulations. When are we going to get Eddie on the show?
Yeah, we're going to have a bubble or something like that. We'll have like OSHA here or DCYF or whatever it is. I don't know. One of those agencies. You know what I mean? Anyway, joining me in studio, we have the internet sensation, Mr. Nelson Demello.
What's up, Stogie Geeks? I see a few people on the YouTube chat. What's up, you guys? Make sure you're chatting there. We're monitoring it and getting right back to you.
Yeah, trying to. That's not good for my ADD or my sleep deprivation, but I'm doing okay. It's been an interesting couple of weeks since the last Stogie Geeks episode.
You been sleeping?
Yeah, I've been sleeping. We had a baby, so I had my second son. Super cool. It's super excited. It's been a blessing. Everyone is happy and safe and sleeping and eating, and the plumbing works, so we're good. That's the check mark. You know, everything's a checklist. When you have babies there, or life for that matter. Anyway, so I'm super excited. Just quick programming note: Security Weekly Network will be on a virtual conference all next week, so there will be no Stogie Geeks. So next Stogie Geeks will be 2 weeks from now, and we'll go forth from there. And we'll have some couple of interviews that are in the queue. I didn't really book interviews around baby time because you never know how that's all going to shake out. But we have Laz Teetons coming for an interview. Got a couple of surprise interviews. Got a couple of old favorites. Lots of news to cover over the next couple of weeks. So definitely want to keep everyone abreast as to what's been going on in this crazy world of premium cigars that we are clearly fascinated by and excited to talk about and have the privilege and honor to talk about it via a show. So thank you to all of the listeners who tune in and send me emails. I got an interesting email while I was on while we're having a baby, and I'll read it out because I think it's it's good. It's a subject that comes up a lot when people email myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes I answer them directly and then go on with it. And other times I kill two birds with one stone, where I answer it, and then when Johnny publishes the show on Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to say, here's a link to my answer, man, peace. So that, and then we get at least four views of the show.
Yeah.
You know, I have my mom, my brother, and Caden, my first son, who watches it. So this listener will be the fourth
You can guarantee a fourth.
Yeah, so it's super cool, super cool. We got the YouTube chat going on. So if you go to youtube.com and you type in Stogie Geeks, there'll be a little live icon over there. Click on that. You can watch us live here now or on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there's a chat function that Nelson and I will do our best to monitor. Shout out to Manny for tuning in. Hope everything is going well, Manny. Thank you for tuning in and for Manny's telling me get ready not to sleep. I'm doing all right. I'm doing good. I'm good. I have plenty of coffee, plenty of sleep. I remember the first Stogie Geeks I did after my first son. We had an interview. It was Nick Goss and Jack Toronto.
Was it this soon after?
Yeah, it was like a week and
Yeah.
change after. Actually, it was an extra week. I stayed out of the studio for 2.5 weeks and then came back.
Yep.
But everything's good. You know what I mean? So we're doing good. So I'm back. So yeah, it's about the same time. It's a week extra.
Yeah.
Or a week earlier, but it's all good because we had no show next week, and I did not want to go 3.5 weeks without doing a show as we pivot around the Security Weekly schedule. So anyway, Nelson, welcome to the studio. Thank you for joining me. You want to talk about sticks? You want to talk about some news?
I don't know. I'm intrigued. You brought up the email. You're saving that for the end, or?
Yeah, because I want to make sure he watches at least 15
Oh,
minutes.
yeah,
of
you wanna
Stogie
get-
Geeks. I gotta get the fourth download
Can't
in.
make it easy.
I gotta get the fourth download in. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I'll talk about a stick. I tried the K by Karen Berger. For those that don't know, she's the owner of Don Kiki Cigars. Started her own. They obviously have other cigars. I think they have one called the Brown Label, another one called. It's not special edition. I can't remember what the hell it is, but they definitely have one called Brown Label. I remember that. But they came out with this one called the K by Karen Berger. It's a 5x52 Robusto. It is a Connecticut wrapper with Nicaraguan binder and fillers. And so it looked, I don't know if it's just by happenstance, but most of the cigars I've been smoking for the last few months, they all have like an oily sheen to it. This one was very, very unoily. I don't want to say dry, but it was very unoily. That's the best way I can come up with it. In fact, what I had written down was, if you look at it, it looks like a pressure-treated 2x4. That's what it looked like. It was like perfect. There was hardly any seams. It was just like this nice, like brownish. It's not like a light brown or a dark brown. It's right in between, like a pressure-treated piece of wood. The cold draw had some fruity and light woody notes in it. So I did a small punch in it. I started to smoke it. I did get hit with some mild pepper right away, which I wasn't expecting based on the cold draw. But it was good, and there was a little bit of sweetness in there with it. As I went on, it got a little creamier, which was really nice, and added some sweetness to the pepper. I did get on the retrohale, mostly in the middle, some nuttiness as I was smoking it. I think I did like 2 retros on it. It was burning really well from a quality perspective. It was burning really, really well. And then I got to the middle, and I had to do retouches. It started canoeing on me. Now, this is actually the second one I've smoked, and I didn't have the canoeing issue on the first one. So I'm literally reviewing the second one I smoked. So I had an experience where it wasn't as bad. This one was kind of bad. I think I described it to Joe as it looked like an ice cream scoop. That's the kind of canoeing I had going on this thing. So in the final third, I got more spice. Like I said, some major canoeing going on. In fact, I ended up cutting it off because it was sticking out that much. Surprisingly, though, the notes were there and the flavors were there. So while I wasn't crazy about the composition, especially towards the end of the smoke, I did like the flavor of it. So I'm actually going to give this one a try one. I'm giving this a try one rating.
Okay, where do you get them? Like,
You can buy them on their website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I got it. Someone sent it to me as part of like a sampler.
Okay. Yeah.
But I
Cool.
did. That's where you can buy it. You can buy them on the Don Kiki site.
Yep. I told you my Don Kiki story with my dad, right? Did
I feel like you did.
Yeah, all right.
When I saw that it was her, I'm like, I feel like Joe talked about them before.
Yeah, my dad's humidor sits on my desk here at G Unit Studios. It's empty because it doesn't work anymore and whatnot, and I just can't part with it. So I was like, I'll keep it on my desk. It's and he would put these Don Tikis in there, and then he'd smoke them and whatnot, and we'd have a cigar on the deck or whichever, and he was diagnosed before he passed, so we had 6 months, and I was like, we ain't doing any more of these Don Tikis. He's like, I'm out, Dad. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, hold on. There's no offense to that. I'm just like, I'm just, and so
It's not for you.
It's tough when you get a diagnosis and then you deal with that, and reality hits you, and you're just like, So I started pulling out some of the sticks, and he's like, "Oh, these sticks are good." I'm like, "Yeah, because you're not smoking freaking Don Tikis." You know what I mean? But anyway, it's a stick that's near and dear to my heart, obviously, because he would be like, "Oh, take some sticks with you home." No, I'm good. I'm good, Dad. We're good. Because he would always order sticks, and he would always like, "Oh, they sent me an email." And these were like, I don't know, the bundle price or whatever,
deal.
and I'm like, dude, they send like 50 emails a day, like, you know what I mean? But anyway, so that's why I was just wondering where you got it. I didn't know. I wouldn't believe there'd be a super ton of
Retailers, yeah,
unless they were in a tourist section.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't look to see if they sell them in retailers. I've personally never seen them in a retailer.
Sure.
I actually had heard of them though before I received them.
Mm-hmm.
I had, because I've heard of Karen, so I had heard of them, but I had never tried the K. Like I said, I only smoked them because someone sent me like 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I have this drawer in my humidor. It's the I want to try something new drawer.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so when I don't, when you go to smoke, and I assume all Stogie Geeks are like this, because it's funny. Has anyone ever asked you, like, what do you like to smoke?
Oh yeah, well,
right.
oh, yeah.
And my answer always is, it depends on the time of day, and it depends how I'm feeling. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I don't give a shit. So I'm like, all right, I go in that drawer and I pull this one out. That's what led me to start it. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to review this for Stogie Geeks. I'm going to smoke another one, and here we are.
There you go. And you gave it a try one.
I did say try one. Like, definitely go try one.
There you go. Cool. Yeah. All right, man. There you go. So if you've had them, like them, email Nelson at StogieGeeks.com.
Yeah, actually, if you guys have tried them and have different opinion or similar opinion, email me at Nelson at Stogie Geeks, because I definitely like to hear from other people. There isn't a lot of reviews on this one.
Sure.
So I'd love to hear more feedback on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's, they're a different, in a different category from a brick and mortar retail, but I'm sure there are brick and mortar retailers that carry them, especially if they deal with a lot of like tourists or stuff like that. And again, it's about knowing your audience, and there you go. So cool.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, my second son was born, and I had the opportunity to swing out, head to a cigar shop, had a Davidoff Yamasá. I mean, I smoke Davidoffs a lot anyway, but I'm like, I feel like I feel like having this there, and I haven't spoken about it in a while there, so like probably a couple years on the show. So I didn't pull up my old notes. I wasn't that super aggressively prepared for that discussion, but if you go to StogieGeeks.com, type it in, it'll be there. But
there's another view.
There you go. Right, nice. Now we're up to 5. The wrapper is from the Dominican Republic, obviously from Yamasá, which I want to talk about the characteristics of that region too with the stick, because Davidoff has a profile, just like other sticks really have a profile. I really don't get into the profiles, but I think with some of my reviews, if they're noticeably stand out, then I bring in the profile. But it's what you can expect from a Davidoff. The binder is Dominican Republic from San Vincent, and the filler is Dominican Republic, and it's got some filler from Esteli and Condega, Nicaragua. So yeah, wow, it's amazing how when you don't do a show, you don't say Nicaragua in 2 weeks, or when you have kids, right? So, what I like about this stick profile-wise is, first of all, Dominican Republic Yamasá, just that there, the palate and how your palate's going to receive the smoke, it's going to be very, very tongue-driven, as opposed to some leave a lingeringness on your lips, or placencias have a thicker smoke content. That's where I was going, and stuff like that. There, but it's very, very. It kind of dances on your tongue. There, that's coming from the wrapper, right? And then you also have the Nicaraguan characteristics from Esteli and Condega, which Condega, to me, in my palate, speaks more like a Criollo 98. There's a musky, oaky, a little bit of citrus, but like lemon oak going on there. That's a characteristic that I can pick out, like Criollo 98 on the pre-draw, right? Can't really pick out the other elements there without lighting it up. But again, from a stick perspective, you're going to get some oak, lemon. Obviously, you're going to get that classic Davidoff cedar that, if you've had the profile. It's ranked as a medium plus in strength. There are other Nicaraguan sticks that are much stronger. I think that Dominican wrapper, obviously, most of the flavor comes from the wrapper. So because of that, it really tones down those characteristics, but the uniqueness of that oaky lemon really, really come out. Retrohale, it gets a little bit of white pepper there. You have to really work the retrohale for that stick, as opposed to like the Oscura, in my opinion. There, it's available in a few different sizes. It's available in a petite Churchill. That's a 4x48. I've had that size. The Robusto, which is one of my favorite size, 5x50. The Pyramids, which is a 6 and 1/8 by 52. And the Toro, which is the one I had, which is a 6x52. I'd give it a $5. I mean, they are $20, $22 smokes, right?
Is that why though you're giving it the $5? The price?
No, because there are other Davidoffs that I would put before this Davidoff, but it was certainly a good Davidoff, and it was one I haven't really had in a while.
Yeah,
I like the straight Davidoff Nica, like that's like if you're gonna go that route, but the Yamasá is a nice subtle touch to it.
There's only one Davidoff I didn't like. It was the Crew.
Okay, yeah.
Wasn't a fan of that for some reason.
Yep.
And I've tried a couple, but all their other lines that I've had, phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, next time you're in Vegas, you got to go to the Davidoff Lounge. It's like
ridiculous.
It's crazy. You could do a whole freaking clinic, and you could probably spend about a G-note. For you non-Italians, that's $1,000 bucks. Right? You could literally get like rowdy over there, and it's not because it's Vegas. I mean,
right?
It's cheaper in Vegas than it is in San Francisco. Davidoff Robustos in San Francisco, $42. Just FYI.
Holy crap!
Yeah, man, it's a good time.
Yeah,
But welcome to Florida. Welcome to California, the other sunshine state.
Well, that happens. I mean, even people in New York sometimes, internet sensation. So I'm talking to people from all over the country on my Instagram, and sometimes we'll get in a discussion like in a group thing, and you'll hear people say like, oh, those are so expensive. And some of us are like, what are you talking about? And it turns out it's because of the state they live in. The taxes are through the roof. And that's why the sticks are that much more expensive for them.
Right. I've received emails and those forums, not really forums, those Facebook groups. I scroll through, obviously, when you're scrolling through your feed, and somebody asked recently, last week, like, is Davidoff worth it? And I didn't reply, but I looked at some of the comments, and some people are like, no, overpriced. Some people are like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's face it. I've always been a fan of that brand. That brand has, like, to me, it's captivating, right? How you could be double when you're talking mainstream premium tobacco, mostly $10 to $12 to $14 range, right? Or $8 if you want to open it up, that $8 to $12 range, right? There. And then all of a sudden you have Davidoffs. And as a brick and mortar, for you to do business with Davidoff, it's in a separate humidor. It's a white case. They have a different profile that you have to do. But that's how they want to do business. And you either do business with them or you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually worth a discussion if you want to get unpack that a little bit. I mean, I look at it, and people have asked me too, and same thing. I've seen it in groups. Is this worth it? Is that worth it? Opus X, is that worth it? Kind of thing, right? And for the approach I always take is it's value, right? So I know that there are, sorry, Carlito, there are some like $80 or $100 Opus that, in my opinion, are not worth the money. Are they quality, great smokes? Absolutely. But in my opinion, not any more so than a $30 Opus or a $30 Davidoff. So I think that's where Davidoff wins. Is sure, a lot of people think, because they're in the $20 to $30 range for most of their facings, I think, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money to people, right? I mean, it's a lot of money for me, but to me, it's worth it. I've never had a bad quality Davidoff.
Right.
It's always an amazing smoke, like great notes, everything. So I'm like, and it is that much better than a $12 cigar, in my opinion. So I think it depends on the buyer. Like, what is the value to you as the buyer?
That's good advice. And my advice to the people who ask in the forums, and if they were ever to come across this podcast, I would certainly say, I've always profiled Davidoffs, and what I mean by that is that for me, they were probably the most situational smoke of choice for me. And what I mean by that is, okay, if you're going to go to a cigar shop and you're going to smoke 2 sticks and they're $10 each, right? If there's a time that you only have the 2 hours instead of the 4 hours to hang around and smoke a cigar, treat yourself. And then experience it for yourself. Because out of pocket, it's going to be the same, right? If you bought 2 sticks at $10 and then one stick there, and it might change your perspective. Because I get emails, our Davidoff's worth it. I can't believe that 5-pack is like freaking $108. I'm like, really? Where? Because that's cheap.
Yeah, it's relative, and it's. Again, I go back to the value. It's you as the consumer. I mean, it's kind of a shitty answer, but it's up to you as the consumer.
No, it is. But I think, if you're a special occasion type of person, get yourself a Davidoff. I mean, there are a lot of times where, I go to, like, for example, the Regency here in Rhode Island because I want to have a Davidoff. And there's no special occasion. It could be a random Wednesday or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just like, I feel like smoking a Davidoff. Or, some people like to get the 5-packs. I like the 5-packs for Davidoff. If we have some dinners, I've purchased some 5-packs. You trade with some people and stuff like that, or you just feel like smoking Davidoffs for the day. I mean, you owe it to yourself to at least try one. Even if you're like, wow, that really is double the cost, but you won't be disappointed.
It's funny. I never really thought of it till you just said it, but I probably smoke at least one Davidoff a week, but I always buy them in singles. Like, I'll go to the retailer, I'll go to Breakwaters, or I'll go to Regency, and I'll buy one. And I have bought a box of Davidoff, but it was the Special 53, which I love, right? That's the one I really, really love. That's like a $32 stick, and you can't even get them. But The other ones, I don't know. Like now, I'm kicking myself. Like, why don't I just buy a 5 or about? Why am I buying singles of these things?
I don't know. It's consumer behavior. I mean,
I think it's opportunist. So I'm in the shop, I see it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to smoke one.
Mm-hmm. And do yourself a favor: get the late hour and smoke it early hour.
Yeah.
I don't know how they even came up with that name or what that's all about. But I've had a Davidoff late hours, and I've had Davidoff late hour at 8 in the morning. Super good.
Late hour.
It's super good at 8 in the morning.
Oh, 8 in the morning, you're saying?
Yeah. Get a Davidoff late hour and have that your first stick with a Bloody Mary. Take a Bloody Mary and Davidoff and call me in the morning.
I think most Davidoffs are great morning cigars because most of them are creamy. Mm-hmm. So I think they're great morning cigars.
Creamy, crisp, on the palate. Very citrus, but lemon citrus, right? And you get that classic cedar.
Yeah.
And for those that are like, it's too expensive, then, well.
You can go to donkiki.com and buy.
Anyway, what I had was the Davidoff Yamasá. By the way, I gave it a 5.
Can you even get a 5 of those? Can you? Just sell them in 5s?
Buy 5.
Outstanding.
You can get a 5 of anything. You can get anything these days. All right, give me a piece of news, or give me a piece of what
do you want
of tidbit. Let's chat.
Let's chat. Well, I was talking to Joe before the show. The TP 2021 is taking place right now, actually. So I thought it might be a good time to just have a discussion about last year, pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID. Mm-hmm. And the impact on these events and conferences. The TPE is more tobacco centric, right?
Yep.
PCA, pipe, tobacco, and cigars, right? Mm-hmm. Do you see? First question I have for you, Joe, is: do you see these sort of getting consolidated in some form, or do you think that? Because the research I did shows that the attendance at these things has been getting lower, even before COVID.
Sure. That's a great question. First, a disclosure, because there are other podcasts out there who don't think that I should speak about trade shows because I have not been to a trade show. But my stance on that is we are, quote unquote, I guess you can call us media. They send us press releases on a daily basis. That is a special relationship between retail vendor and the manufacturer, and news coming out and grabbing people for interviews and whatnot. It's just not my shtick, right? It hasn't been my shtick. If we do a good job, the other 361 days a year, then we can not go to a 4-day conference. However, I think they are pre-COVID super important, super necessary, and I think that the focus has to be between that special relationship and not what's new, because obviously this industry can become very fragmented. There's something to be said for companies that go. I've had people who we've interviewed in the past, call it 90 days here on Stogie Geeks, email me and just say, hey, are you going to be at TPE this year? My answer was no, having a child, and I wouldn't go even if I wasn't having a child. I don't own a store. However, and they were like, oh, it'd be good to see you. So I think business-wise, it's important for you to be there and for you to showcase your product. But what do you're showcasing your product, you should be showcasing your product 365 days a year anyway. Exactly. Right? So it's kind of like you can level up, rekindle the relationships. Face-to-face relationships is so important in this business. There's a lot of turnover in this business, and I don't mean turnover like people in and out of the industry. I mean people turn over and going to another brand name and stuff like that. And it's good to see everyone And from the Facebook social media post, looks like everyone's having a great time. How could you not? It's in Vegas.
Right.
Business-wise, we see this a lot in the tech community. This is all pre-Security Weekly, and then now I've seen it more working with Security Weekly. But business-wise, you see, you want to get your foot in the door and showcase your product, and then do that there. But I've also noticed that, for example, tech companies or cybersecurity companies will go to one of the bigger conferences, an RSA or a Black Hat, out in Vegas, and they do it for like 5 years straight or 7 years straight, and then they take a year off or two for whatever reason. Maybe there's not a new product. Maybe it costs a lot to. I mean, you know, all these companies participating in TPE. You know, it costs a lot to be there. It's time out of the field.
You got to get a return on your investment.
And you got to get a return on your investment. Are they getting it? I think they are, for sure, because I think it's super important for business. Now, when you add COVID to the mix and they weren't able to do that, now it's like it's a statement of we as an industry, or they as an industry, all the participants, we're going to be okay. You know what I mean? So they're going to be okay by going, whether vaccinated or not, traveling, putting forth the effort, which I think is super important. And conferences are definitely here to stay, and they are needed. And my final thought from your original question was, do I think that they would ever be consolidated? And the answer is no. And they shouldn't be.
So going back to what you just said during COVID, right? Because I thought you brought up a good point. They should be basically doing what they're doing at the TPE. To some extent, they should be doing that 365 days a year, right?
Yep.
Do you think then last year it gave, well, I mean, I'm asking a rhetorical question because I think the answer is yes. It kind of forced them into that mode where it's like, I'm not having this event, right? So I'm going to have to figure out new and innovative ways to do what I do at the TPE, but do it virtually somehow, or multiple or more frequent, right?
Or the word that I can't stand now is hybrid. It's a hybrid
I'm
event.
not saying hybrid.
Like, I'm like, dude, like, really? Yeah, we're going to have hybrid dining. So you have people who want to eat outside like rats and people who don't. I don't want the table with the rats outside in the street. You know what I mean? But, you know, anyway.
You know, I wish you didn't hold back your opinions. It would make the show a lot more interesting.
Okay. Anyway, finish your thought.
So where I'm going is, I don't feel like I did see that in 2020, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are. Like, I didn't really see a change. I mean, sure, there was some virtual events, but in talking to retailers, I don't feel like brands really. I feel like it was status quo, business as usual.
Yeah, but I think it's super important because they've gone through a hurdle. They've gone through a hurdle of COVID that everyone's been through, and they're coming out in force, and people are excited to travel again because they look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just expected some innovation around, because you and I have talked about, you know, getting the consumer educated about brands, right? Mm-hmm. It's in particular in the brick and mortars, and I guess I was surprised. I don't feel like I saw any innovations in it that would deal with that in 2020. Because COVID would force them to do it.
Sure. They've done a lot of online work and there, but it's been a difficult year, probably crop wise, probably supply chain wise, right? You know, you can run at half staff. You have to have social, and I'm making the number half staff up, but you know, you have to have social distancing. You're not as packed in the factory as you are. You could be making less cigars. There were a lot more hurdles, creativity hurdles that companies had to go through for business sustainability first.
Bigger priorities.
Yep.
That's
as
fair.
Opposed to innovation.
That's really fair. That's a good
point. As opposed to innovation. You know, what I've noticed is that some of the stuff that's come out during COVID, the tobacco's not ready. I mean, it's just not ready. And I don't think that's a COVID thing more than it's a let's roll the product and get it out the door thing. And I think, you know, but then again, I think when you go into a brick and mortar or you purchase online or you do your habits to get your cigars that you want, that you work for and get them into your hands, I think that they should be ready. I'm not into, well, let this age for 6 months and it'll be 10 times better. Well, then why put it on the market?
Right.
You know, and there's been a lot of examples of that I've noticed. But then again, I could be finicky and I could be full of shit. So who the hell knows?
Not Joe Ozempa.
No, I'm just saying. I just, you know, that's just the way it goes. You know, I just found that was my opinion there. But I think that innovation. Plus, you know, you got to remember, we have some FDA regulation, potential regulation that some companies are nervous about, some more than others, and like anything else, you're gonna have to pivot and do that there. But I think that the conferences are well needed. And that face-to-face business is so key. Now, does it equate to top-of-line dollars? I don't own a retail shop to say a judgment either way. But the retail owners I know, and I know quite a few, it's getting there and doing business face-to-face. And I think that people really want that.
Yeah.
And now, especially with COVID, that they couldn't, that they needed that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. So I can't speak for the TEP. I was trying to look to see what the TPE ticket sales were like. I didn't really find anything, but I know like the Barn Smoker, the Jewish State Barn Smoker, the one in Connecticut is almost sold out. The one in Florida is selling really well. Mm-hmm. So I think the events will continue. I agree. I actually agree with you. I think the events will continue. I think people are dying to get out and do stuff like that. So I think they'll be successful. I mean, as far as like those Vegas conferences, I guess in my opinion, I think they will. Some of these will consolidate. I just think they will, because if attendance keeps dropping, right, and they're still, to your point, it's really those. What are those conferences really for? Right, it's for the vendor to talk to the retailer, right? So you can still get that outcome if they start consolidating these things. So I'm not saying they're all going to be, but I could see a few falling off and somebody else is picking it up.
But there also is an educational component that the retailer can go and probably should carry around a little notebook and take notes, and there's some educational classes for them. It's also good to see what your colleague, you know, other retailers are doing across the industry, success stories, be it old-fashioned merchandising within the shop, or how to rearrange your humidor and stuff like that. Because obviously, you know, everyone's fighting for shelf space. But I think the innovation component could be lacking a little bit. But I think that's going to come once we get past the hurdle of whatever the FDA decides to do.
Oh, yeah.
And then also, I think that once we get back to some sort of a sense of normalcy, which I said this year when COVID hit, it's never going to go back to normal. So don't. But I really think that they will not consolidate conferences. Like, for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
They will not. At all, because each one has spent time and effort for that staff, for its own identity. It also has its own target audience, and that retailer and that manufacturer should know if they should be at that conference or not, and if it's worth for them. And ultimately, we could sit here and speculate till the sun
right,
sets.
that's all it is.
But ultimately, they have to make a decision if they think it's worth it.
Well, that's exactly what my next point was going to be. Like you raised it earlier, where like there's a cost to this, right?
Sure.
So if I'm going to 5, you know, I'm Dunbarton. Am I going to go to 5 events this year and spend the money, set up the booth, do all that? You know, because you would have thought you hit some of those retailers in the other events, right? So do you really need this many? Is it? I don't know if it's oversaturated. I don't know enough about these conferences to say that, but just logically thinking, right? If there's 5-6 events a year, how successful can they really be? Because if people wouldn't go to all of them because you're doing the same thing you did, unless they're just doing it just to get out and do shit, right?
See, retailers get invited to certain conferences.
Oh, so they don't get invited to all?
Not all of them. No.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
You have to have a certain criteria to get into certain conferences, and it could be sales volume, could be, the tier volume as to where you're at.
purchase history,
and any type of criteria that they set, and that's why I think that their own identity will be there. But I think it's the educational, what
component
are my colleagues doing, and what can I do better in my brick and mortar, and should I bring in this? Plus, anything new is in a room. You can now take it back home, go through your evaluation process, figure it out, see if it's going to work for your business to bring in the line. So that's going to stay the same for the next 10 years, and if not 20 years, regardless of regulation and regardless of any product innovation. They are needed. I just don't think that media podcasters need to really be there. I just don't, because it's what are they gonna say? Oh, this is a Dominican Polito, comes over here, it's great, wow, yeah, cool. You know what I mean? Like we do that anyway during the show. So I just don't see to put the perusing of the floor if it's really that necessary.
The only other thing I could think of is you're getting access to the attendees, right? So the Sakas, the Leonoras, right?
Yeah, but we speak to them on the show.
I was just going to say that.
Speak to them on the show. So
you get them anyway.
So why would they? Why I don't know. I just because I hear so many stories like, oh, I interviewed so and so at this, and we got the latest and this, and that they're going to go get their reports. Consumers are going to get their reports as to what they need anyway. They're going to go to Stogie Geeks if they want this information. They're going to go to Half Wheel if they want this information. They're going to go to Coop if they want this information. They're going to go to Sky Authority or KMA if they want that information, all personalities, and then there's room for everyone.
Right.
You know what I mean? But to interview them, I don't know. I've to me, it was always tacky for them to do that.
Well, I think to your point earlier, you can have access anyway.
I have all the press releases. I mean, of what's been announced. I could, press print and go through it and cascade that information to the Stogie Geeks and do that there. And yeah, it's good to get the interview, but isn't that why they watch the show, to get the interview? They don't watch the show to hear if Nelson, Drew, or Joe rates it a 5. They like the interviews.
They don't?
No, they don't. Contrary to belief, they really don't. They want to get the interviews of the people and have them hear their story. And some people go on different shows, and the same people get interviewed, and some interviews on shows they get this result, and some interviews come on this show and they get a different result, and that's why consumers listen to multiple podcasts, just like consumers smoke multiple cigars. And there's room for everyone.
Absolutely.
But if you want to go to the freaking PCA and knock yourself out and go.
Yeah.
But if you said to me, Joe, I want to go to PCA because I want to experience PCA, I would say fine. I was like, but just don't bring a Stogie Geeks card.
Right.
Don't do an interview. Because to experience it, absolutely. Go experience it if you want to. You know what I mean? But you want to stick chase, knock yourself out. And you should. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's why, I'm in a lot of different Facebook groups, and everyone was like, hey, are you going to TP? Are you going to TP? And none of these people are retailers. None of them. So they're going, it's funny, I was looking at the YouTube chat. By the way, don't forget we're on YouTube. We're following the YouTube chat along. And, Manny was saying a lot of people go for free stuff, which I think is true. Like, people go down there, get the free sticks, the experience, everything. Can you even attend, though? Can you attend if you're not a retailer?
Yeah. If you want in, I'll get you in. No problem. Like I said, you're not passing out a Stogie Geeks card and you're not doing an interview.
Right. Well, that's not. Yeah.
If you want to come back to the table and say, hey, I had a chance to smoke a stick with someone and talk about the experience, that's fine. But that's our platform, and that works for our methodology.
Right.
I'm not saying that for all the other podcasts.
Yeah.
I can only speak for what we do and let my integrity stand as it is, and that's where we're at.
This show has tons of integrity.
Yeah, well, I agree. What else you been smoking?
What else I've been smoking? Let's see. Is this my favorite one yet? Hold on. What am I good? Oh, okay. No, this one was good too. The Illusione MJ12. Friend of mine recommended this to me. It's I smoked the Toro. It's a 6x54.
Who is the friend?
Ronnie Reed.
No. A cigar shop owner recommended that I purchase a stick from his shop. I just want to put this stuff in context.
Oh, yeah. Well, he asked me if I ever tried Illusione, and I said, no, I actually haven't. So
You've never tried? This is your first one?
this is my first one.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I never. Dude, you know how many cigars there are in the world? I haven't smoked them all. Have you smoked a K by Karen Berger? Exactly.
No.
So this has a San Andreas wrapper, Nicaraguan Corojo binder and filler, and it's a good looking stick. It came in like I will say, Illusione. I'm complaining a little bit about the wrapper, and I'm not talking about the actual tobacco wrapper. It comes in this like aluminum foil taped wrapper that is adult proof. I could not get into the damn thing.
It reminds me of the Esteban Carrera.
Oh yeah, it's the same type of thing.
Oh yeah, they got this wax thing, and you gotta peel it, and you gotta go easy because it'll get the wrapper. It's a mess. It's a hot mess.
I could have smoked like a Petit Corona in the time it took me to unwrap this thing. It was taking me forever. So after that grief of unwrapping this, my only complaint was the damn wrapper sucked.
Do you know if you took a lot of that tin foil and some duct tape and made the duct tape in a circle and put it on a hat?
Where's this going?
And keep on going. Next time there's a solar flare, when the sun does the solar flare, it'll bounce off your hat and protect you from the rays.
Is that really necessary?
I'm just saying.
Jesus Christ.
So send your Illusione wrappers to Nelson.
Get the hell out of here.
So he can make a solar-proof hat made of aluminum foil.
The fuck?
I mean, it was only going to take like 6 sticks.
Can I do my review?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Jesus. Where was I? So it's 8. Once I got the silver aluminum wrapper off.
We had one half trip around the sun. That's the Earth.
I know, what the hell. It's a beautiful, oily, dark wrapper. I was excited to smoke this thing.
Of course you would be. It took you 28 minutes to get the wrapper
maybe that was part of it, actually. I was just psyched I was finally through it. So I did a V-cut on it, and right away I got these really, not super strong, but maybe strong, I guess, coffee notes and pepper notes, together. And I think I said I'm not like a big pepper fan when it comes to cigars, but this mix actually worked. It was really, really, really good. The pepper and the coffee continued. It got on the retrohale, you picked up a little nuttiness, which I got to admit, I probably retrohaled this more than I should have. But that combination was it was awesome. It was really, really good. As I continued on, I screwed up my whole review here. I don't know, when I was typing in the intro, I screwed it up. So let me just go from memory here. As I went on, the nuttiness actually picked up in the final third. So I was getting the nuttiness still with the pepper, but a little less of the coffee notes. It faded as I went along. It was definitely more of a medium to full-bodied cigar. It picked up in strength as I went along. So I gave this one a $5. I think this is definitely worth a $5. It potentially, I was in between $5 and box split. I want to smoke a few more, but this thing was pretty good. I was actually really impressed with it. That's it.
$5?
$5.
Cool. Illusione
MJ12 Toro.
There you go. Cool. Absolutely. I'm on deck mode, right? And working from home mode.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So it does change the cigars that you kind of pick, I guess, at least for me, right? Even though I did take my plastic baggie home filled with my cigars.
Joe and his Ziploc bags.
That is still sitting on my bar at home for now 2 weeks with no Belvita pack and
no humidity.
No, man. Smoke naked. You know what I mean? Friggin', I had the Arturo Fuente bestseller.
Oh.
So a little bit bigger than the short stories, obviously from the Arturo Fuente Hemingway series. The size is a 4.5 by 43 and 55. Wrapper is Cameroon. Binder is and filler Dominican Republic. It's labeled as a medium. It's barely medium, but it's super tasty. I mean, it is so super tasty. That cold draw you're gonna get, because remember the cigar is it's got like a little. Here we go. It's got like a little nipple at the end of it. So when you light it up, it smokes there. Then it gets into the bigger.
Yeah.
Have you had one?
I have not. I've seen them.
Okay, right, and the to me, they're so tasty, right? And the way, like, when you smoke through the nipple and then it opens up, like, it just because of the way it's concentrated and then comes up, like, you're gonna get a nice hint of, like, nutmeg and earth there, but not like super dry earth that you would get from, like, earthy Nicaraguan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So you get a nice sweet cedar taste. Had it with a morning coffee. Did some work on my deck. Hung out. It was good. It was super good. Burned slow. Actually, was very, very careful. Did a bullet cut there, and totally enjoyed it. When you're halfway through, you get a little bit of a salty component that kicks in. So you get creaminess that kicks in from the cedar.
Yeah.
But I was getting like a little bit of a salty component, and I was like, oh, I never noticed that before from when I smoked it.
Yeah.
And then when I rekindled myself with this cigar again, I was like, yeah, I was getting like that really, really saltiness there. It was good. Box split all day.
Yeah, it sounds like a nice group of notes you get on there.
You do, but the only problem is if you're used to smoking strong cigars, like if you're a Nicaraguan guy and you like pepper, you're going to be like, this cigar is, but the cigar is elegantly balanced for a barely medium strength cigar. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad it makes sense. Right? I was hoping it did. Right? So it's just different in taste. It's completely something different.
Yeah.
Mild, goes great with coffee, probably goes great with a Bloody Mary. Lord knows in my days of when I owned a cigar shop, we smoked a lot of Arturo, Fuente, short stories and stuff like that, and the Hemingways.
See, I want to smoke one now.
Yeah.
Joe pokes fun at me because I'm a stick chaser, and I am. But what I've been hunting for lately is exactly that. Like, I'm trying to find cigars now that are just way off. Like, you smoke that, you're like, holy crap, this thing is so different. You get notes that you really, or a mix of notes that you've never gotten before. Like, that's the last one I think I smoked that was like that was the Pravada LCA release, the Thai tea, right?
Wait a minute, Thai tea.
Thai tea. I got like cinnamon in there. It's rare I get cinnamon, although the next review.
Oh yeah, yep.
It was woody. It was nutty. It was so different. It was just different.
Okay. Did you bring your humidor with you?
No.
It's not in this. You don't have any cigars on you?
Oh, I have cigars on me. Yeah.
What do you got on you?
They're out there. I definitely have a Rojas in there.
Yeah.
I have Roma Craft Black Irish in there.
Ooh.
What else do I have in there?
Okay. Anyway.
Tatuaje. I got a tattoo in there.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. Why asking?
Because I have one. If you want one.
Oh, outstanding.
But I was gonna smoke it out. I was gonna smoke. It's so good. I was gonna smoke it on my way home.
I have room in there for one.
No. I was gonna smoke it on my way home. Right. So maybe we'll do some trading.
All right.
Or if not, I'll just give it to you. It's on my desk.
Outstanding. It might fall in my folio.
You can just take it. It's on my desk. That was the Arturo Fuente bestseller. If you come across the short stories, can't go wrong with that. I like the bestseller a little bit better than the short story. It's a bigger smoke. The short story is a short smoke, no pun intended.
So I have not smoked the short story yet.
You've never had Arturo Fuente short story?
I have not smoked. Well, I typically don't like the smaller cigars.
Sure.
So coincidentally, I actually won a box from some raffle.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got a box in last week of short stories. So now I have to smoke them. But you're saying those are great too.
They are great, but I like the bestseller because it's just I get that saltiness.
All right.
You know what I mean? That's just me.
Well, my last stick's a Fuente as well.
There you go. But will you have anything else you want to discuss before you go to the last stick?
We have time?
Yeah, we have a couple minutes.
I don't know. Did you want to talk about the Swisher's response to the FDA?
Yeah, no. But yeah.
No?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
yeah.
It's your show.
No, this is not my show. This is the listener's show. Yeah. No,
That's
let's
true.
talk about it because that's interesting. How they even wanted to come up with a response.
Yeah. So just to recap, and if you haven't, go back to episode 361. where we talked about the FDA announcement. It's not a rule or anything yet. It's just an announcement that they're going to, or they want to, put the kibosh on menthol cigarettes. I'm sorry, menthol. I shouldn't say cigarettes, just menthol in tobacco, as well as flavors in cigars and cigarettes and vape pens as well as included in there. And we did have a brief discussion around some of the premium cigars through state. I don't think we got into Swisher, but just all the different cigar brands that do have a lot of tobacco's another one that has flavored cigars. So I had been looking for some of these brands to see if they had responded. I haven't seen, I was expecting something from Drew Estate, but I hadn't seen anything yet. But Swisher did have a response to it, so I'll read it here from, where is this, from Tobacco Business News. While the public health, this is from Swisher, their press release was, while the public health goals of the FDA and other federal agencies may be well-intentioned, we believe the science and evidence does not support a ban on characterizing flavors in cigars. Currently, we do not know the full details of the proposal put forth by the FDA. However, the company is adamantly opposed to any proposal that would remove flavors from our cigar products. It continues, in addition, we believe there are less intrusive yet more effective public health measures that are already in place, including the increase in the federal minimum purchase age of tobacco to 21, which they just did recently, as well as the FDA's own pre-market approval process that's already in place. Furthermore, there are many adult products, including alcohol, beer, and seltzers that contain characterizing flavors that are consumed by adults. We are prepared to participate in the notice and comment rulemaking process of this to outline the lack of scientific justification for the proposed ban, as well as the detrimental effects that would result from its implementation. So they're focused, and before the show, I was doing some other reading. As you know, some of the different brands that did comment are talking about the science behind it. That seems to be what they're going to go, how they're going to challenge it is with the science.
Okay.
Drum roll, please.
No. No. Actually, no. Okay, they're going to challenge it. Like, in if it gets to vote and whatnot, you're not going to challenge it. If they change speed limit laws, and that's it. I mean, you know, so they're committed to challenging and protecting their consumers and all of that stuff. I really think that right now, with this latest piece of legislation, they're going after the vape, and they're not going to alienate the menthol cigarettes, even though the legislation says that they are. Here comes all the email telling me that I'm off my rocker. But they're not going to alienate, a third of income, taxable income, that's coming off of just the menthol portion of it. They're lumping in, because of the vape and the flavor profiles that are available for the vape and the accessibility for the youth to be at the vape, and let's face it, the convenience of the vape and the way you can get it in a gas station and stuff like that, just like cigarettes there. It kind of came on the scene, but the vape has had a free ride for a while in regards to taxation. So I think that they're focusing more on that and lumping in those. Oh, by the way, they have if we're doing menthol, then they have flavored cigars as well, and they're really bad or what. But not for nothing, it's an adult-driven product, and a vape, just like a pack of smokes, it's an adult-driven product, and if they're going to, the consumers are going to get it even if they're not of legal age anyway. You know what I mean? So they're kind of twisted and backwards, and for them to come out with a statement just saying, oh yeah, well, we disagree with it, we're going to fight it. Of course they would, but why come up with a statement like that? Like, well, it's Captain Obvious.
And it's funny, you brought up that I agree with you. I think vape it was the catalyst for a lot of this.
No question.
Right? And then whether it was to not appear like they're picking on vape or whatever, They lumped in the menthol, and they lumped in the infused cigars, but what I didn't see in there, and I had read the proposal last time, I didn't see anything about flavored pipe tobacco.
Good point.
It wasn't in there.
Yep, good point.
So what about that? That's bizarre.
Right.
Why not include that?
Right. And let's face it, they've been fighting the menthol for 10 years. 10 years.
Well, the tax element is the thing that I think this doesn't make any sense. It does, because it's not going to stop. And you're right. Like the tax revenue that they're going to lose if this passed, especially with the menthol cigarettes.
They're not going to do it. They're not.
It doesn't make sense.
The regulations for the vape and for the I think their workaround is they're going to do it at the state level, right?
You mean like just have the states control
have
it?
the states deal with it. This way the feds can say, look, hey,
it's not us.
Tobacco guys, it ain't us. You know what I mean? We didn't do it. It's on the state. Check your state legislature.
Well, Massachusetts did that,
Massachusetts has a you can't buy a and I'm not picking on Drew Estate, but you can't buy a tobacco or an acid or anything like that in a Massachusetts store. You can't buy the flavored the flavored cartridges, strawberry or cherry or whatever the heck it is.
Doesn't exist in my state.
So I think that's going to be the workaround. Matter of fact, I know that's going to be the workaround where they're going to say that. And I'll put my reputation on the line.
You mean going to the state level?
Yes, they're going to kick it at state level, and the state level is going to have to put it up. And let's get now. When a state pivots for legislation like that, it's good 2 years because you got to do a study, then you got to prove your point, then it's got to go through session, and then you're going to have both sides session. You're going to have people filibustering going there. Some states that are pro tobacco are going to just say, "Okay, great, we're not doing it." And other states that are anti-tobacco are going to say, well, then we should really take a hard look at this. It's going to take another 2 years. So that's another 2 years. And what's going to happen in the fall, I'm making it up, October of 2021, the premium cigar industry is going to say, I can see it all now, Cigar Rights in America headlines, victory. Right? Victory. We got it postponed again and whatnot, which they're doing their job. Everyone's doing their job, but they're not going. I've had this discussion now since 2014 in interviews, either via Stogie Geeks or Cigar Club Radio. And we're going to continue having this discussion for the next 10 years. They're not going to do anything. I'm telling you, they're not going to do anything. Not going to do anything with predicates. They're not going to do anything. They need the revenue. And it's an adult-driven product. Now, they may have something that says, okay, you got to be 25.
Right.
But how high do you go?
Well, and that's...
Because I have problems with raising the minimum tobacco age from 18 to 21.
Right.
I have moral problems for that. As someone who's a Navy brat and see the sacrifices, like if you sign up and you are deployed and you can defend our country, then why can't you choose if you want to have a little bit of R&R? And who is the government to decide R&R? Be it a cigar, be it a chronic gaming habit. I don't know. Go with me. What other friggin'
That's my biggest beef with all of this. Is where does it end?
It's not going to end. And that's why I just think that, bringing it up and for a company saying, okay, yeah, well, we're going to fight it. Of course you're going to fight it. Who isn't going to fight it? But you're not going to fight it and you're not going to win because they're going to kick it down to the state level because it's already at the state level at some points. I mean, look at, what was it? It was Beverly Hills. Can't smoke. Our city of Newport's getting like that. Public, we went out for Mother's Day and I saw signs at Newport because we were in a playground. And maybe my life slowed down a little bit because I have kids now. And maybe it's been there for a year or so, right? But now I have kids that are playground worthy at the time. Not that they were bad kids. Now they can climb on the apparatuses when I say playground worthy, right? And I'm looking at, I see my son going on a slide and he's climbing and doing that. And I'm looking at the thing and you can't even have a cigar. And quite frankly, when I found out we were pregnant, I was pretty excited. Wow, I can sit in the park, watch my kid do the slide and do the cigar. Oh, God forbid I did that, in Newport. You know what I mean? So again, it's town ordinance. I can go to Warren or Bristol and do it. You know what I mean? I've had Robusto. I mean, my son's been to Little Havana. You know what I mean? Like, so like they're gonna kick it to state. Say, Big Tobacco, look, we kicked it to the state. We're here for you. Love your tax revenue. Thank you very much. And then the state's going to have to deal with it on top of all the other issues. And the pro are going to go with the pros. The cons are going to go with the cons. And everything's going to remain the same as it is. And then we are going to get an email saying victory.
But the same algorithm plays out whether it's federal or state. What you were saying, right? There's state tax revenue from tobacco as well.
Yes.
So they can kick it down to the state, but they're still in the same conundrum of, do we really want to shoot ourselves in the foot?
Right. But
and it's going to impact more, for some reason there's more inner city menthol sales than like rural. Well, probably because there's more people. Actually, now that I'm saying that.
Yeah, like I was waiting for you to finish.
I was waiting for you to
finish. Like you could do that for freaking chocolate freaking milkshakes.
Well,
more people consume chocolate milkshakes in New York than they do in Nebraska.
Right.
Just throwing it out there.
Right.
I mean, more people consume coffee milk in Rhode Island than they do in South Florida.
It is big in
Actually,
Rhode
no,
Island.
South Florida is kind of like that. That's a bad example. There's a lot of transplants there. than they do in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
I guarantee you. So it's like it's Metro. It's Metro. Is concentrated?
Yeah.
No, it's a product that's in there in the convenience store. And by the way, that convenience store is catering to his or her audience. And if it's menthol cigarettes and freaking condoms and freaking beef jerky and lottery tickets, then that's their mom. Then they make money off that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm worried about is you said it earlier. I mean, whatever. I'm hit or miss with the 21, but, booze, cigarettes, it's like, where does it end? Stop telling me what to do when I'm an adult.
It's not going to end. That's,
That's my beef. I don't want to go into politics, but
it's not going to end. It's going to be
that's
something
my
else.
biggest
but
problem.
I just don't get when they say victory or, it's just crazy.
the funny thing is you're right. Like that-
Oh yeah, I can predict.
well, they
it.
did that last fall when they did the when they were doing the pre-testing or whatever for all the different facings. CRA did that.
No, sure.
Like, oh, we won.
And it's like
Big win.
They kicked, and it is,
And it is.
and they're doing their job. I shouldn't say they're doing their job. They're doing their mission.
Yeah,
of
they're
what
lobbyists.
Of what they want to accomplish, and that's just the way it works. That's how politics works.
Right on.
And regardless of it, again, let's say I'm 100% wrong, and they ban that stuff. Number one, consumers will find a way to get it, and number two, it's like water going through a canyon, right? After 100 years, it makes a different path and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to find a different path to get into consumers' hands.
True.
And at the end of the day, like I said, we could spend all this time talking about it, and there's nothing that we can do about it other than just say, hey, we're kicking the can down the road. All right, give me your last stick.
Well, mine is also a Arturo Fuente. Let's see. So this is the Arturo Fuente Quinones, which I keep calling it Cajones, because this thing, it's an 8.5 by 52 Churchill, probably the longest cigar I've ever smoked, and it's a Connecticut broadleaf, which I love. It's probably my favorite wrapper, and obviously Dominican Republic binder and filler, and it's ominous. I mean, it's intimidating cigar. It's really long. It's 8.5 inches long, but I was like, this is going to look silly. I think that's one of the reasons I don't like really long sticks. I always feel like, because I'm a small guy, well, except in my stomach, but I always think it looks silly, but the hell with it. I said I'd try it. I'm so glad I did. This cigar was phenomenal. It was fantastic. Beautiful wrap. I mean, everything Fuente does, even their lower end, I'm using air quotes for those people on the audio, their lower end sticks, which to me, all their sticks are quality. I've never had a bad Fuente. It's just perfect, beautiful veins, nice brown wrapper.
It's like 8 inches long. It's like
8.5.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
huge. That's what she said. So I did a V-cut on it. and started smoking it right away. This speaks to what I was just talking to Joe about, like something different. Baker spice, cinnamony. That's how it kicked off for me. I'm like, I freaking love this thing. It was phenomenal. The first half, I almost have to cut it in quarters because it's so damn big. It's not thirds, but I'll cut it in halves because really the first half was pretty consistent. It was that cinnamony, a little bit of sweetness on the retro, which I usually don't get sweetness on the retro, but this thing was just freaking awesome. As I got into the middle, it picked up with some like cedar type notes in it, mixed in with the cinnamony baker spice type stuff. Continued throughout the entire stick, but the second half definitely brought in the cedar, which I don't know, man. Those three combinations, it was phenomenal. It's a long smoke. I mean, it took me almost 2 hours to smoke this thing.
Yeah,
it was a long smoke. I did some retros on it. I definitely, like I said, I picked up in the first half. I picked up some of the nuttiness, but in the end on the retro, I got some pepper towards the end, which kind of I expected at the end. And I smoked this thing to the nub. I actually used my pick, which I know Joe doesn't like. I don't think you hate that pick, right? That I use.
No, I just don't.
It's rare I use it, but if I
you
bust
got all these apparatuses, they have all these cigar apparatus.
accessories.
There you go. Accessories.
So I stabbed that thing and I smoked that sucker to the nub. I went all 8.5 inches. Please don't cut that clip. I can't believe I just said that. But that thing was so good. I mean, it was phenomenal. I gave this a box worthy all day. I'm gonna go hunt for a box now. It was that good.
Just buy one in Newport.
I'm
sorry, Middletown.
Yeah, they have them in Middletown.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, they do have them in Middletown. But that's why I keep calling it the cojones. It's called the Canones, but this thing, you need some cojones to smoke it. I mean, it's huge.
It's a commitment.
It is, and that's that. My only problem with it is you can't just smoke it when you want to. You have to prep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And make sure you have your pick with you, or whatever. That
if you're a nubber, I went to the nubber, man. That thing was so good.
You probably got a lot of pepper because you got a boatload of 8 inches of tar buildup from just consistently smoking.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I wasn't surprised when I got the pepper at the end. It was hot.
Right.
You know.
Right. Construction good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
For a
laser.
stick that big, it stays together pretty good.
Yeah, man, that laser sharp, no unraveling. Like the cap was it was just. And honestly, I think it's and again, this is the Arturo Fuente Quinones Churchill that I smoked. What was I just going to say? I totally lost my train of thought.
I don't know.
Fudge. It was important too. It was important.
Well, when you think
the construction. It was a laser sharp burn, like just all the way down. Mm-hmm. No canoeing, no touch ups, nothing. I know, like I'm sorry, I'm like being so passionate about, but this.
All right.
I know what I was going to say. I know it was the price. The thing was like $10.
Sure.
It was like $10.
Yeah.
It was so worth it. Again, value, right? They could have charged. I would have paid $20 for that stick.
There you go.
It was that good.
There you go.
All right. Sorry, I got a little excited.
You didn't find it
No.
a little bit boring because for a stick that big, for transition, it was just the first third, and then
I think I know where you're going, and I can see why you'd ask that, but because the notes, although the notes didn't change frequently throughout the stick, the notes were different than what I typically smoke. Mm-hmm. So I was enjoying that, right? So I get what you're saying. Like, you're right. It wasn't super complex, but the notes themselves in the stick were so different than what I normally smoke. That's why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, and the Arturo Fuentes burns slower anyway, so you add that size.
Oh, yeah.
Just like,
it was so good.
I mean, you can watch the freaking Titanic movie and still
It was
have some time
a
left
solid.
over.
I didn't really time it, but I know because of what I was doing and when I left, it was definitely at least 2 hours of smoking that sucker.
Yeah, it's a beast.
It was a beast. That's exactly what I was just going to say. It was a
you
beast.
can golf for the last 9 holes.
At least.
There you go. Cool. Awesome. And you gave that a box worthy.
Definitely a box worthy.
Cool. I can't get off these things. The Alec Bradley Black Market Esteli Robusto.
Yeah, I've had those.
Like, not the regular Alec Bradley Black Market, the Black Market Esteli. It's in regular production. It's been around since 2017. I had the 5x52. It's available in Robusto size. It's wrapper is Nicaragua, binder is Nicaraguan and Honduras. I really love that combo anyway. Filler is Nicaraguan. It doesn't break the bank. It's made in the Placencia factory. Super tasty. I've had the Toro size. I'm not a super fan of that. To me, it's got to be the Robusto size for that, right? There too. It's the same thing. Like even with this Noel Rojas I'm smoking, to me it's Robusto. Like I like the Toro, but the Robusto is like super tasty. But so I don't know. But anyway, it starts out with fairly basic Nicaraguan stick. Get a little bit of a pepper pop. Okay, great. Once you're about an inch in and it starts to settle in, if you bullet cut these, they're super tasty. You get some leather, that Nicaraguan earth, oak. You get some hay and some coffee, and it does have like a sweetness to me that kind of fades in and out. So you'll be like, oh wow, like you get a really nice hit of some sweetness to round it out, and you still get that edge of it being from Nicaragua. You're getting that white pepper, but the Toro to me doesn't ebb and flow as much as the Nicaraguan. So with these, I mean, I'd have to give it a box split for sure. That was the Alec Bradley Black Market Esteli Robusto size.
Manny on the YouTube chat says it's fire.
Oh, well, there you go.
He's a fan.
Yeah. And I'm not like super like into like the entire portfolio of Alec Bradley, right? Just to be totally candid, I'm not, right? There's some stuff that I'm like, it's kind of but I've been really digging this stick. I've had the Black Market, and even when the Black Market came out, I'm like, okay. But that Robusto size, it does have that ebb and flow. Man, if you can comment back if you noticed if it did kind of fade in and out of sweetness, just let me know. Or let us, however, for the YouTube chat. I'm just kind of curious because it got to a point where I was like, man, this is freaking super tasty. And then I'm like, okay, it's Black Market Esteli.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, it's super tasty. Like it's like a zebra. You know what I mean? Like it's almost transitional like a barber pole. Like it's crazy. So
do you have I know you're a Rojas fanboy, but do you have like a brand? Is Rojas one of them? Davidoff that you kind of lean towards, and you like more of their facings than maybe someone else? That's
an interesting question. Where I go to have a cigar, consumer wise, shop wise, will determine what I know what's in his or her humidor. So if I'm looking for a Wynwood Hills Mayhem, I'm gonna go to the humidor. Right? If I'm looking for Davidoff, I'm going to go to either Breakwaters or I'm going to go to Regency. If I'm looking for Rojas, I'm going to go to either Breakwater Now or Havana Cigar Club. So I judge it by what I feel like, and I always have. You know what I mean? So I guess you could say like a cigar gypsy. You know what I mean? If you will.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then when I coming to Security Weekly, when I was just doing my business, I would travel more, right? And so where I went, if I went to Watch City in Waltham, I was heavily into some of the CLEs. You know what I mean? So it's like I judged it by where I wanted it, or what I got. When I would mountain bike and head up to New Hampshire, I'd stop by Twins. And I would get Crown Heads, or back in the day when they were there, or Kurt 724, which I'm a fan of. So I'm like like a gypsy in that regard.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. And because you're not really purchasing online.
No, I hardly ever purchase online. Like the last time I purchased a box online had to be pre-COVID, and it was the Gilberto Oliva Reserva Blancs. And because local shops didn't carry them at the time.
That's like 2019. You're going back.
Yeah, probably 2019,
Yeah.
October 2018. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Because I was like, oh wow, I really like this cigar. And I ask around, I don't chase. I just say, do you have it? No, well, no, I'm not gonna have that. Blah, blah, blah. Now it's funny because friggin' 4 of the 6 shops that I frequent have them.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
They came around.
It's like I'm like, you don't have these? Like these are freaking awesome. Are you serious? I'm like, yes. Yes. They're freaking $7. Freaking sell it and get it. You won't be disappointed. I liked it. That was the last time. It's like when I get really, and then obviously I bought Rojas when he was not in the Northeast,
Right.
for sure. So I guess that counts as online. So actually it was before then, but it was only Rojas. Everything else would just come in.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big online guy, and it's not that I'm anti the idea. I
You can get what you want at brick and mortars.
I love going into the brick and mortar. I love speaking to the owner. I love talking to some of the patrons. Obviously, I have the gift of gab. So, yeah.
So Manny responded to your Esteli question. He did say he got some faint sweetness in it.
Yes.
And he also said he doesn't normally buy boxes, but he would buy a box of the Esteli.
Yes, they don't break the bank.
So he's a fan.
They don't break the bank. Well, Manny, pretty soon you will be able to log on to a URL and get them. So that'll be coming soon to a theater near you.
Stay tuned.
So yeah, because they're a good smoke. And again, not getting back. Now I'm more of a fan of the Alec and Bradley stuff. I really like where Alan's sons are going, Alec and Bradley, where they're going. Can't wait for their next stick.
Oh, okay, the future.
I can tell you that in July there's a new stick coming out from Alec Bradley, and it's the name is so crazy. To me, it's just like, you're gonna name it after that. It's crazy. Being from what they're named after, I'm not at liberty to discuss, but I've actually did the test blend for it, and I'm very excited for that. That will sell out. That will be available in 5 packs. I'm making the number up. I'm not in charge of manufacturing. Call it 1,500. That will sell out in 3 months.
Oh wow,
that's a prediction.
That good.
That's a prediction, and They did a super duper job on that. As a matter of fact, funny story. After we did the test blend, a week later, I ran into John.
Right, from Alec.
Yeah, and I was like, which one did they go with, blend 1 or blend 2? And he goes, they went with blend 2. And I unloaded on him in true Joe's fashion. Like, I was like, are you freaking serious? That freaking blend 2, that you cannot look me in the dude, I was heated because, like, you asked me my opinion, and then you went and you agreed with my opinion at the time, and then you went with, like, this number 2 is, it doesn't represent the name. And I'm like, number 1. And then number 1, number 1, and then he was like, yeah, we went with number 2, and he kept me going for like an hour, and I was and like, I didn't let it rest. I was like, dude, what do you guys don't want to sell freaking? You don't want to sell out in freaking 3 months? That your new mission? Like, dude, I said some raw stuff that like probably would never get them on the show there, and people were like, who the hell, like what? And then John finally, it was all quiet, and you could tell if there was smoke
heated.
I was heated, right? I was heated, and it's not like, oh, we had to choose the blend that freaking Joe wanted. It was night and day with these actual blends, and then finally he says, we went with the blend number 1. I go, then why'd you tell me something? He goes, because I knew you were gonna fucking blow your top. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. It's stuff. It's stories, little stories like that. But mark my words, man. They're coming out in 1. We're gonna do a special here. We're gonna talk about it on the show. I'm gonna let you guys ask the questions when John comes, because know the whole story.
You've been through the journey.
I've been through the journey, but I thought that was super cool on how they're gonna come up with that, and I'm looking forward to that. He told me July, so it could be real time August. Who knows? Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I'm good. I'm excited to have you back. Excited to be back in studio. Gustavo, thanks for kicking ass as always.
Yeah, Johnny Gustavo, thank you for producing the show. Super cool. Where are we? Stogie Geeks. Anything on last on there? Say goodbye to Manny. Yeah, Manny noticed the faint sweetness. Thank you, Manny, for participating in the chat. It's always good to hear. And thank you for listening to the show for sure. Stogie Geeks. Remember, we keep the conversation going all week long. StogieGeeks.com. Email all of your complaints to Nelson at StogieGeeks.com. Drew is super busy, but we'll catch you next time. As always, we missed you. We got some interviews coming up in the next coming week. Stogie Geeks, be safe. Don't worry about the FDA. Everything will be okay. Victory. Peace.